Welcome to the Road Hawgs Radio Network, brought to you by theroadhawgs.com and Road Hawgs Motorcycle Magazine. Let's get the show started. Here's your host.
Welcome to Classic Chrome. I'm your host, Buck Carson, and thank you for joining us on our first episode of what's going to be a great new radio show. With me tonight is my friend Chi from the Road Hawgs Network, and we're going to talk to Chi and learn a little bit more about the Road Hawgs and kind of what they do and a little bit of background and history on it. Chi, are you there?
Yes, Buck, I am. Thank you for having me on the show this evening.
Well, it's good to have you, my man. Can you tell me how long you've been involved with the Road Hawgs?
The Road Hawgs has been around for about 8 years now. We started off basically like everybody who starts off a website, but we wanted to do something a little bit different, so we kind of tagged ourselves as the Motorcycle Information Highway or the Motorcycle Information Website. And we got a lot of response from that. We got a lot of link ups. We got a lot of people that were interested in trying to promote their deals. We are a free site, however, which means we do not charge for any advertisement or anything that we do. We are a community of bikers. Most of us have been riding for a little over 40 years or plus. We try to get as much information out there as we possibly can. As the site, like most sites, grow, our site kind of involved ourselves into what we called a newsletter. And that newsletter came out once a month, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and people were advertising in it, and people wanted to know a little bit more about us and this, that, and the other. And finally, 2 years ago, somebody said, your newsletter is like a volume. It's basically a book. So we kind of just took everything apart and quit making the newsletter a newsletter and made it a magazine. It's a double-edged sword, though, Buck. Unfortunately, because it's a free publication and we put so much into it, the thing that happened is we were basically annihilating other magazines. They went out of business. And I'm not proud of that factor. I don't praise myself on that. I realize that the motorcycle magazines that are out there today in publications have a lot of sponsors, and that's what pays the freight. We do not have sponsors. We have people that are interested in us, and any contributions they give us basically just goes into the productions of what we're doing. They just can't make it in the market today, and we've been offered a lot of money from other companies to basically buy us out, and we just refuse to do it because we're motorcyclists. We love what we do, and we're going to continue on with that. So that's the base of the Road Hawgs and how they got started.
Very cool. So you're keeping it a family atmosphere. I can really respect that. Tell me a little bit about the magazine. Where can folks pick that up? Is it at any local Harley dealer? Is it do they need to subscribe to it and have it shipped? How does that work?
Well, it's a great question you ask because we are not on the local newsstands. In order for you to get our magazine here, what you have to do is you have to go to theroadhawgs.com, and that's spelled TheRoadhawgs.com. And when you get there, you will see the intro page. And in that intro page, all you have to do is scroll down to where it says the Road Hawgs Motorcycle Magazine and click on it. That will direct you to a page where all you have to do is fill out your name and your email address. And every month on the 15th, not on the 1st, you will get a link to our magazine. And that link comes out in publication in a digital form. So it's a computer-generated magazine. Publications, as you know, being in the business that you're into, too, as far as advertisement, cost a lot of money. And we cut the cost that way so that we can continue on supplying the people with the information that's out there, whether it be in the news, history, events. We actually have writers that write for us on a monthly basis. We have some interesting stories. In fact, I'm proud to say that you're one of our new writers.
I'm really excited about the opportunity. Now, you mentioned something earlier that kind of caught my interest. You said that the magazine comes out on the 15th and not the 1st. Can you tell me about that? I know a lot of motorcycle magazines and publications come out, usually the turn of the month. You guys seem to wait till halfway through the month. Why is that?
We do a lot of research. And one of the things we found out was that because all magazine companies come out on the 1st, that by the time the 15th comes rolling around, most of the articles that you have read are pretty much done with as far as the magazine goes. Magazine companies today will put out an article or a story that will catch your eyes on a newsstand, and then all of a sudden what will happen is you pick up that magazine, you open it up, 55,000 flyers come flying out of all the advertisers that they want you to join up and buy so that subscription can continue on. And then you get to the article that you really want to read, and you only find out that it's probably half a page or a quarter of a page or a page and a half of the information. Well, you've just spent $3 to $4 on it. Now you're kind of pissed off, so you take the magazine and you throw it in the corner. You read what you wanted to read, but you spent $4 to get it. Well, and around the 15th, you've pretty much done with that magazine. So what we've done is we picked up where everybody else left off. And by doing so, it gives the readers and the writers a chance to pick up all the information from the 15th on. By the time the 30th comes, 29th, depending on the month, you're pretty much done with the Road Hawgs magazine, and your new subscription is back on the newsstands. So we're just filling the gap.
That's a really great way to do it. I haven't heard a lot of people doing that, and that's very innovative. So let me ask you this: Are there, you said it's a big biker family involved with the magazine. Is there a way for bikers to, say maybe do a classified advertisement in there if they wanted to say, or even look for bikes for sale? Is that part of the magazine, or maybe a future expansion?
Well, what we tried to do is we tried to cut out a lot of that stuff because there's a lot of websites that do sell motorcycles. We don't want to compete against people. We don't want to hurt people or anything else. We try to keep our advertisements pretty much to the people that are mom and pops just starting out, the sincere people, if you will. A lot to do with the veterans. However, we will, without a doubt, post anything that has to do with a charity run or an organization that's willing enough to help out children, homeless, somebody that's either gotten into a real bad accident and is looking for some way of supporting them. We don't handle any of the money. We do not handle any of that. Whoever is interested in putting something like that in our magazine, we ask that they send us a JPEG of their poster and all the information so that goes directly to them. We don't have the time, nor do we have the facility to be able to sponsor something like that. And that goes the same with motorcycles, too. As you know, if you're trying to sell a bike today and you don't know the person and you go to Craigslist and you look at it, the guy who's taking the snapshot is probably taking a snapshot of a bike that was maybe 2 years old. And the bike really doesn't look that way right now. So now you're caught between a rock and a hard spot, and you want to buy that bike. So you go and contact the guy, and the guy says, well, I hate to tell you this, but it took a spill in the garage. So there's a little bit of scratch on the tank. Now, whether that's true or false, and I'm not saying it is or isn't, you're still stuck with the mercy of what you see as far as the picture goes. What the bottom line of the Road Hawgs is we don't want to take the responsibility of saying that it is or is not what you see. And you could get into a lot of legality problems. You could get into a lot of hatred. And we don't want to have a foul name because of somebody else's problem that they're just trying to unload this thing. So we stay away from selling the motorcycles. Now, in retrospect to vintage bikes, which you're into, parts itself are, well, they're hard to find. And you get what you get. So I can understand, whereas if a person like you was trying to sell parts in the Road Hawgs magazine, it is exactly that. Here's a sprocket from a 1912, well, let's just say Royal Enfield, and it's all rusted, and it needs a lot of love and care to put it back together again. But you kind of expect that. I mean, you're not going to go to the Harley shop down the street and buy a brand new clutch assembly, and it comes fresh right out of the box, and you get to see the brand new shiny part. Shiny parts are great, but in vintage areas it isn't. So if there was a market to go ahead and sell vintage parts, yeah, I would put that in the magazine. I'm not going to deal with full-fledged motorcycles that are brand new or 2 years old or 3 years old and go through all that hassle, because that could be one hell of a headache for me.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about the radio aspect of the Road Hawgs. I know you've got the print or the publication, but you've also got a radio network. Tell me a little bit about the shows and the talent you have on now.
We pride ourselves with the shows that we have available right now because it is a very, very difficult thing for the Road Hawgs to actually do. It's a costly proposition that we front because we want to work with the community of the motorcyclists. We're trying to fill shows that are of value and of interest. We get a lot of response from a lot of people that want to put on a show. They last maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and it's dust. I mean, it's not worth it. To put on a production or to put on a show, as you will know, is something that takes a lot of time from the individual as far as researching out the proper people to put on the show. The variety shows are very, very difficult to do because you have to do it. The Road Hawgs do not get involved with your show as far as helping you out in production areas. You are the master of your own accord. Now, some of the people that we have on the shows are interesting people because they do take the time out. One of them is a female that she goes by the tag name The Broad. She is a wonderful, inspirational woman. She was involved in a motorcycle accident and lost her leg. And she services our needs, both in the magazine on the air, with a lot of women informational backgrounds as far as the questions that the women have about motorcycling. Her shows are just phenomenal. Her name of her show is called The Road Lines. It comes on Fridays. She does a 10 o'clock show. The nice thing about our shows is that because they are podcasts, you can listen to them anytime during the day or whenever you're on your computer. The other individual that we have is a variety, is a guy by the name of Pipes. Now, Pipes is located up in the Midwest area, in the Iowa area, and he does motorcycle events. So we basically fill our venue to try to drive our community to the events that are happening in the Midwest. We drive our venue to the women with Ursula. I'm trying to basically drive our venue to a guy by the name of Buck Carson who has classic chrome because we lack the vintage area, not only in our magazine but on our radio shows. And I understand that this gentleman that I'm speaking to also has something in the works, and I don't want to step on your foot by asking you this, and I know it's your show, but I'm going to ask you a question. You got some kind of a project for children, is that correct?
Yeah, that's very true. I'm involved with the Antique Motorcycle Club of America. It's the end-all, be-all for old bikes if you want to be involved in a club of like-minded individuals. And we have a segment of the club for youth. As you know, as the generations get older, the skills and the talent and the love for old machinery seems to get smaller and smaller. The program of the AMCA attempts to do is, promote youth involvement, get them out there and put them around old bikes and, the folks that keep them running and try and pass down some of the knowledge and the passion that we have for them. So I'm actually the National Youth Director for the AMCA, and, we have events all throughout the year, whether they're swap meets or shows or rides, et cetera, and my job is to try and get as many young people in there as possible and make them members and, see if we can't promote old motorcycles because, it's history. It's our history as motorcycle enthusiasts.
You're absolutely right. And the problem with a lot of motorcyclists today is they forget that there was a history behind it. I mean, they can go to the Walking Museum and go in there in the Harley joint over there and walk through it and see some of the vintage bikes, or they can go over to Wheels of Time in Maggievale, North Carolina, or JP Cycles in Iowa. These are all great spots to go into, but I've always found that the motorcyclists today, they're so busy, they're so wrapped up in a lot of the things that they're doing that once they leave these establishments, they pretty much leave it behind, and they forget about it, and they're back into their Sturgis and Daytonas and all the other events going around, which I understand that, but to have somebody like yourself that wants to bring this back in such a way in a young position so that as they progress in age, it's just phenomenal. And I think it's, like I said before, and I'm a firm believer of it, you being a community person as much as the Road Hawgs being a community business, we work together because something's got to be done here. I mean, we're going to lose everything if we don't. There's too much stuff that's happening in the motorcycle community today that isn't good. And part of the things that are happening are, these kids on these crotch rockets, they're going down the highways and they're stopping traffic and they're doing all these stunts and everything else. Somebody's going to get hurt. Well, you can say, well, that's the crotch rockets. Well, you know what? It's not. It's the motorcyclists. We're all motorcyclists, and it reflects back on us. So with your help, with the Road Hawgs out there, all I can say is I hope we can do something to stop some of the nonsense and make some good out of what's down there and make people more aware of it. This radio production will go out to 20 to 30,000 people worldwide. The magazine goes out to 7,000 people across the United States. What you do, what you say, your impacts, your ideas, your whole venue is a major impact to the motorcycle community. And I got to tell you, I thank you for that.
Well, gee, you're too kind, and I've really enjoyed talking with you tonight. Now, before we go, tell me once again, where can people go to find out more about the Road Hawgs and you subscribe to the magazine and check out the radio shows? What's the best way to get in touch with you folks?
The best way to get in touch with us is through the website. The website is the golden thing. We're in the digital age. For all those that have cell phones, there's the majority of people do walk around with cell phones today. They walk around with iPads. They have computers in their homes. This is the wave of the future. The electronic edge, the digital edge, this is it. Anybody that wants to get a hold of the Road Hawgs, all they have to do is simply go to the website. And the website is The Road Hawgs, spelled TheRoadHawgs.com. Once you get there, everything is real easy. You'll find magazines, you'll find the link ups, you'll find, even the radio networks. And I suggest everybody go to the radio networks, click on to some of our people that we have on there, and find out what they're all about. You'll either like us or you'll hate us, but I think you're going to like us.
Well, gee, it's been fantastic to talk to you, and I really appreciate your time. And, stay safe out there, and hope to talk to you soon.
Buck, I want to thank you very much for having me on the show tonight, my friend. You have a wonderful evening, and hope to talk to you real soon.
Well, thank you very much. And, folks, that'll wrap it up for us on Classic Chrome. Stay tuned next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, or you can get us anytime online on the podcast form. Thanks, folks, and have a nice night.